EV betting is not about being right more often, but about betting when the odds are in your favor. Expected value equals long-term profit. Welcome into Betting Pros. I'm Seth Woolcock, and today I'm joined by the host of the Daily Juice podcast, Matt Perrault, to tell you how to make money EV betting. Matt, great to be back with you today. And if you were stopped on the street, how would you be defining EV betting?
Good to see you. Good to be back. Look, this is a topic that I think so many people struggle with because EV is just the odds are in your favor. And if you bet more often, if you bet over the course of, well, like the daily juice, which is every day, 365 days a year, you want to be betting into markets and prices that are in your favor. Meaning, if you can go and find a price, and let's just say you're going to go and buy a loaf of bread, and a loaf of bread at XYZ supermarket is $1.10, where the local place, maybe around the corner, is selling it for $1.30. You want to buy the 110. You want to be getting yourself the best price and the best opportunity to make money long term. So I love this approach. EV betting to me is super important because it's about the longevity of it. It's not about a quick fix. It's about being able to bet over a long period of time and to be in the positive for your expected value.
I think that's a great way to explain it, Matt. And before we jump in any further, just wanted to shout out everyone who's either watching on the Betting Pros YouTube channel or listening to the audio feed. The easiest way to support us for free, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Make sure you're subscribing if you're new. We got a ton of content always coming your way. And now let's go ahead and jump in how to find these EV bets. And it starts with not betting just based on hunches and instead betting based on value. Plus EV means positive expected value, and finding it is actually a lot easier than most people might think. Let's start on the market mispricing. Books are often opening up lines early, but they're not always efficient when doing so. Sometimes they miss. Sometimes the markets react slowly. That's where the edge lies. Matt, do you have any examples of what this that you can share for us when it comes to market mispricing?
Yeah, I think if you bet the NBA and you bet the NBA all year, you know that if you bet overnight, you are oftentimes going to see numbers on the night before that do not exist the next morning. So let's just play it out. On Friday night, there's a game on Saturday. Say it's a 1 o'clock Eastern time tip. The books are going to put the number up somewhere around 10 o'clock Eastern, somewhere in that point. More often than not, the book's going to put up a number that is sort of a softer number. Say it's -4, -5. They're going to put it up because they're going to wait for the market to react and hammer that number into a sharper. That's where the term sharp comes in, because if the sharp person takes it, they're the ones sharpening the number, if you will. And maybe the right number is -6.5, but the book puts up 4. So you're going to see the money come in immediately. And that first big bet, the book is always trying to find, where will the money come from? When will essentially the book is trying to find the dog price, because everyone knows the public is going to bet the favorite more often than not. So what number do we got to get to until we get a max play on that dog? So we're trying to bet, if we're like the favorite, we want 4. We don't want 6.5. So you want to take that number at open, which will be -4, when in reality that number is going to close about 2.5 points higher.
And would you say that also translates into football betting, whether that's the NFL or college football, that when these games first open back up after the previous week, that it's best to get invested early, especially if you are betting potentially a favorite in there, just because we are seeing so much swing by the time we're kicking off, 6-7 days later?
Yeah, the problem with this is that the books now have decided to put numbers up in May.
Yeah.
So you're talking football is a different animal, because football, I can bet a game today here in the month of August that won't be played till December. And the books just put those numbers up so far in advance that oftentimes, like, I've already bet the Iowa State game because the number is 1. Okay. I bet it because that number should be 3. I don't care who's favored. It always should be 3. Take the favorite at -1 and then take the dog at +3 whenever it gets there. Because that number is going to be 3 or 3.5. It is every single year for Iowa State. So you can take advantage of early numbers and jump in and bet them when you know what the number is going to be, just because of experience. You know where it's going to be eventually. So to me, I think it has a lot to do with shopping. It has a lot to do with when are you betting it. football is a bit different than baseball, basketball, hockey, because the cadence of football is different. So the line can become more stale in football than it will be for the NBA or baseball and hockey, because the games are more turned over quicker.
Well, and the other great thing about the Betting Pros app and the website as well is we have different odds boards for nearly every sport out there where you can really look. Hey, one book might be throwing out a plus 110 money line. There might be a plus 150 somewhere else. So just shopping around. And I find the same thing in the motorsports markets a lot where, hey, there might be a top 10 on a driver sitting out there at 3-1, not really interested, but FanDuel's consistently thrown out, 10-1, 9-1s when there's just a big gap from the next book. So I'm often finding some market mispricing in those markets as well. Another place to find EV betting is an injury or news lag. When breaking news hits, like a wide receiver sitting out, potentially maybe a quarterback shoulder flaring up, it takes time for all the books to adjust properly. That delay is often creating opportunity for us. Matt, do you have any other thoughts when it comes to injury or news lag and how we can take advantage of it?
Yeah, be real careful to not overreact,
Okay.
because the markets overreact way too much, in
Mm,
particular with football. Okay. Football, people think, well, the wide receiver one is out. The number should
yeah.
move by 2 or 3 points. No, there's maybe one wide receiver in the NFL that could potentially move the number a point and a half or 2 points.
Mm,
Quarterbacks can move the number by a field goal or more. But other than that, I think the market overreacts so often when it comes to a player being out or an offensive lineman being out. Or, I know there are certain indications or certain games in which you might feel very nervous about an injury, but the books tend to take advantage of this far too often. They know the overreaction is going to happen, and they take advantage of it by moving the number in their favor. So
mm.
I would say be careful when it comes to injury news and how significant to the number that it actually factors in.
Have you ever seen it become almost the opposite where there is no movement and there should be, particularly maybe in the collegiate streets, where Saturday morning, you know how those injury reports are, man, they're not accurate for the most part. And then we get Saturday morning, a potential star quarterback, running back is out. Is there ever a time where early on a Saturday before games are kicking off that you're getting invested because the books did not move any numbers there?
Yeah, I think information's king, right? So if you have a good feel for a certain football team, or you know something that the
Yeah.
books don't, then yeah, absolutely, I think you should take advantage of it. If you know of a program that's notorious for maybe not lying, but floating out some information that might not be accurate for whatever reason for
Yeah.
a competitive advantage, maybe you've seen it before and you could take advantage of that. But I think for the most part, the market overreacts to injury news, both in college and professional, a
Mhm.
lot, and it's become a little bit knee jerk with it. And you can take advantage of that, by the way, because you might get a better number on a favorite where everyone
Mm.
thinks, "Oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
dog's live." It drives the number below 3, and it should be 3.5. You get 2.5, and now you're getting a much better number because of the overreaction.
Yeah, I can remember just last year, man, absolutely laying the hammer on a Colts money line against the Packers when Malik Willis took over for Jordan Love there due to injury. And that was a mistake. That was absolutely a mistake. So I love you kind of preaching a little bit of patience there when the market is shifting. Another key way to scope out plus EV is by fading some of this public line overreaction that you're kind of talking about. The public, even if there isn't an injury, will often hammer one side of a bet because of last week's game or a headline, and books will shade the line to compensate, as you're kind of talking about there. So even if it's not mathematically correct, they're doing this. So are there other instances where you're also seeing some public line overreaction, taking injuries out of the equation here?
Yeah, I think the public, for the most part, gets enamored with what they just saw. So I think you have to be in football in particular, because if it happens in week 2, they think it should happen in week 3. And that's simply not the case. This is why survivor contests are so difficult to win, because your eyes are going to fool you. You think that the team that you just bet or rode should do the exact same thing. And it's much different than any other sport because of the coaching and the strategy and just injuries and travel and everything else that comes in. So, the public doesn't take into account those back-to-back road games in the NFL. Like week 2 of that back-to-back road games in the NFL is a bear trap for so many teams. In
Yes.
particular, back-to-back road games in the division are
Mhm.
complete disasters. And you see maybe a really good football team lay down and get killed. And you're like, what the heck happened? It's because of the travel and everything that goes into divisional
Mhm.
games. So I think there are situational betting opportunities. This is why I recommend to any new bettor, you should be writing down after you make bets, you should write down the logic that you have made for each bet. And if you
Mm.
keep a running diary, you're going to start to see trends that you may not have naturally thought about, but you're going to see it and you're going to go, oh, well, the public doesn't realize that in this situation, when there's a West Coast road trip happening for this NBA team, and they're going to go and play, back-to-back games, that second game, they're getting killed consistently. You'll find trends that you can use to your
Mhm.
advantage if you're paying attention to what you're doing. So I think documentation is so very important because the public doesn't do it. The public wants to come
Mhm.
home, crack a beer, sit down on the TV set, and place a bet. They don't do any research. So if you're going to do the research and the work, you're going to find betting opportunities that will lead you to more accurately predicting an EV play.
And not just with game odds, but often player props. I'm seeing a lot of overreaction, especially early in a season. One player might have a pretty tough first game. Maybe their defensive matchup is tough for that position. And then the line the next week is, for receiving yards, let's just say 5, 10 yards shorter. And game flow is also going into that too. If their team's up early, they're going to be more likely to run the ball. So I think sometimes I'm often coming back after a disappointing performance for a player and hey, is there an ankle here? Do you also consider that with player props, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think shopping also is a key factor there as well, because if I get 5 yards less and I'm betting an over, that's great. And vice
Right.
versa. If I have 5 yards more, if I'm getting an over, you want to shop around and find the best number. And there's massive discrepancies between books in the prop market. I mean, that might be the most volatile market in all of sports right now. And it's
Yeah.
why you're seeing all the different quote unquote scandals that have been going on around different sports. It's because of the volatility in the prop market and the different prices and limits that the books have and what they'll take. XYZ book might take $1,000 on a prop. A different book might take $5. So it really depends upon
Mhm.
the business model and what the books are doing. So you have to have multiple outs. I mean, that just goes back to betting 101. You got to have multiple outs and you
Yes.
got to know what your book's going to take for an action standpoint. But numbers and betting into the best numbers, if the market is set at, over 101 yards and you find 95, that's huge. That's what we're talking about in terms of EV. That's an EV number that you have to take advantage of.
You can also find plus EV tickets with correlation. If you believe one thing will happen, certain other outcomes become more likely. That's correlation in a nutshell. And it really is the key to finding some plus EV angles, especially if you're playing in that props or SGP market. Matt, what are some of the biggest correlation trends that you often are looking out for and exploiting?
All right. First, I hate parlaying. So let's just put
Yep.
this right on the day. I am anti parlay on everything. However,
Mhm.
this comes from the DFS world. Okay. And if you're somebody who's ever played daily fantasy, you understand the idea of stacking. And
Yes.
I think if you're going to bet props in the NFL and your book will let you correlate the bet, because remember, house rules. Some books are very, very tight on what they'll let you do. But
Yes.
you can throw a Dak Prescott over a half a touchdown toss and CD Lamb over half a touchdown reception. And if they both connect like they are going to a lot this year, there's your correlated parlay. You hit
Mhm.
both sides. So those are the parlays that if I'm doing correlated parlays, I don't go more than 2 or 3 legs. That's the most. Three. I don't like three. I prefer two. But those are the types of parlays you can get into with take the quarterback and the wide receiver, take the quarterback and the tight end, and you can correlate them together where you're cashing either yardage or touchdown, anytime touchdown, over touchdown tosses, whatever it might be. Those are the correlation from a parlay perspective that I think you can do.
Even in the motorsports realm too, Matt, I'm often over there in the head-to-head matchup markets. And if there's one driver I'm fading and I'm getting a good number to fade them with one driver that I am backing that week, I'll usually try to find other ways to fade that one driver because if my theory and my thinking is right on fading that driver, more than one driver is likely to beat them. And it also kind of goes into laddering, which can kind of go into the PGA realm too, where, hey, if you're expecting someone to maybe have a top 30, a top 20 finish, a top 10 finish, you kind of start laddering them up too. So I think that's another way we can find some correlated value there, Matt.
Oh, no, I think that's a brilliant strategy. If you're betting golf, if you think someone's going to be worthy of a top 10 bet, to bet the top 30, top 20, top 10, and then to win, you just have to trust yourself, right?
Yes,
You can get into trouble very
absolutely.
quickly. And bankroll management comes into solid play here. Like, I wouldn't recommend laddering with full units.
Nope.
I would break the unit up and go, all right, I'm going to put a quarter unit down at minus 110, a quarter unit down at plus 200, a quarter unit down at plus 500, and ladder it that way. And so you're not getting yourself massively exposed. And if you're wrong, you don't wipe yourself out, because that's the
Certainly.
problem, that you
Yes.
can get correlated parlays and staggering and stacking and laddering is great until you have a bad day.
Yes.
And that day that day's coming, whether you're think you're great or not, you're going to have that bad
Yeah.
Saturday or bad Sunday, and you want to make sure you can absorb that.
One of the best ways to signal EV is also by tracking CLV, or what we call closing line value, as a signal of it. And where did the line close? Where did you bet it? That's really the line of closing line value here. And an example here is you're betting a spread at -2.5 before it closed at -3.5. That's CLV, which equals a long-term edge. And you can do that consistently. I'm often placing bets early in the week before the college football news is coming out, getting a little CLV there. And often, most of my NASCAR card every week is also going out before practice and qualifying in motorsports, because I'm trying to find that closing line value, because I know if I'm right about a car being fast right off the truck, it's going to drop the number, and I'm not going to get that same line after the fact. Matt, where are some of the markets that you are finding the most closing line value on a regular basis?
So there's a running joke here in Las Vegas, because the city of Las Vegas has trash cans all over Las Vegas
Okay.
with CLV written all over them. So it's a joke. Closing line value. I cannot tell you how many times I've had the best number and I've lost.
Yes.
You can have the best number, you still have to win. And that's at the end of the day, I think what people get in, not to go soapbox, but the thing that we get caught up with, I think, so often here in the EV, CLV, all these buzzwords that we like to use about the math. At the end of the day, you can plan out a perfect strategy and have everything in your favor. You can have the best number on the planet. You can close with 2 or 3 points of value at the end and still lose. You got to win. At the end of the day, the bet has to win. So I love having the best number. I love getting the number at open. I love watching the number run. I can't tell you how many times I have numbers in college basketball that close 4, 5, 6 points. I'm sitting on an unbelievable, and they lose, and the bet loses. So it's dangerous always to get too caught up in closing line value. It's important. You want to have the best numbers, but I think EV, the expected value of a bet, is more important to me than the closing line value. I don't really care what the market does. If the market goes against me and I think I've got the best number, or I'm on the right side, I'm good with the number going against me and running. Doesn't really bother me. But the expected value of the bet, I do pay more attention to that. I want to be having the best price. I want to have the best EV. CLV to me is, again, the bet has to win.
Sure. Sure. And before we keep it moving, did want to let everyone know about our BettingPros betting systems that can actually help you identify and create some profitable strategies that already have positive EV baked in, so you're not starting from absolute scratch. You can customize your betting systems by sport, bet type, and time frame. You're going to find yourself some better opportunities using real-time data and expert analysis. Track the performance of different betting systems over time and optimize your bets to increase your chances of success. Do that by downloading the Betting Pros app today, or going to bettingpros.com/systems to elevate your betting strategy and start making smarter bets today. So we've discussed what EV is and how to find it, but let's talk about how to actually make money with EV. Matt, whether it's having discipline, lowering the volume, maybe upping the volume, what are the next steps on your roadmap to making money on EV?
I think it really comes down to pain tolerance for you, because I do believe that bankroll management is the most important thing that anyone can do in sports betting, and that comes into just betting the best prices. So how much time do you have to commit to this and go and find the best price? If you can have 5, 6, 7 different outs, and meaning you've got books that are loaded, the number I don't care if you have $100. Just make sure the book has dollars in it so you can take advantage of the number that they have. Because now, in the era of homogenization, you might have, I don't know, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe less to get that number before a sharp's going to come in and literally hammer that number out and it will be gone. So to me, I think it's about finding as many outs as possible to take advantage of those numbers and bet when you have the best of it. Make sure you're coming in and betting.
Okay. And when it comes to your volume, Matt, are you more of a volume better, or are you someone who likes to dial it back, or does it kind of just depend on the market for you?
Yeah, to me, it depends how hot I am. I'm sort of a
Okay.
poker player in that way. If I can push the odds and go and I'm hot, I want to run. I want to push it. I want to be active. I want to have multiple plays. I want to have 5, 6, 7 bets a day. If I'm not hot, if I'm cold, if I'm not having a good football season for whatever reason, I'm going to be more conservative. I'm going to be more protective because, again, bankroll management to me is the most important thing. Staying in the game for as long as you can. I hate having to reload books. Like I loathe it.
Mm.
So if I can, the longer I can go to make sure whatever money I have put in or money I want to take out, that I can keep playing, that's what I'm looking to do. So when I'm hot, pedal down. When I'm not, I let
Okay.
off a little bit.
Okay. And you've kind of already touched on already that building some of these, lottery parlays is not always the smartest move when you're trying to actually profit long term. So how do you approach long shots? Is it just about scaling the unit size down if you do like a long shot and hammering, the closer to even or even juiced odds?
I love long shot bets. If you think you've got a play that can win,
Mhm.
I don't like lottery tickets. I think
Okay.
there's a big difference. A long shot and a lottery ticket are two different things. I have a 27-1 ticket on the Brewers to win the World Series. At the time that I bet it, they were a long shot to win the World Series. They're
Mhm.
now 8-1. So that is EV. That is looking at a play at a long shot, thinking if this team gets hot and this team keeps rolling, this team has great pitching. This team did a great job at the trade deadline. I
Mhm.
think they got a chance to go and make a lot of noise. That's a long shot bet. It's a 1 unit play for me, but it's 27-1. So I don't mind long shots. I love long shots.
Okay.
I hate lottery tickets. I hate closing your eyes and doing pin the tail on the donkey and a 15 leg trying to hopefully find, a rabbit's foot somewhere in the middle of an ocean. Like it's just not going to happen for you.
Mhm.
So that's what drives me crazy is America's obsession with not betting conservatively or
Yes.
slowly,
Yes.
but I want to make a bet every day. That's fine. Bet every day. I bet every day. I don't bet an 8 leg parlay every day. Like I'm not just donating $10, $10,
Yeah.
$10, $10 every day because that's what I do. I get up and I cook and I bake my parlay. Just take the $10 and make one bet. Find the
Yes.
best bet that you
Yep.
like and bet it. Win $10, then move to the next day. Then win $10 and move to the next day. This obsession with getting rich quick with gamblers, I just don't understand it. And it's a riot because I was just over in Scotland where there's a pub and then there's a book. On wherever there's a pub, there's a book. And I get why. You go to the pub, you buy your pint. And then I was talking to a guy over there and he was like, well, we just buy a drink and then we go and spend the same amount of money on the, 8, 9 pounds on a pint. We then go and spend 10 pounds on a bet. To them, they don't get what we are doing and why our obsession. Everyone bets over there. Everyone bets over here now. But our difference is that we are obsessed with
Yes.
the $5 bet to make 50,000.
Mhm.
They're good with winning their drink. They're just trying to get their drink for free. That's all they
Mhm.
want to do. Win 10 pounds? Great. My drink is free. We need to be rich. I don't get the obsession.
When it's that long-term profitability, using EV to your advantage, that's really going to start stacking up a profitable season of profitable bankroll for you. And honestly, in my opinion as well, the great thing about the Betting Pros app is that our developers actually built the app to help track everything we've talked about here today. You can track line movement, you can track your performance, and while identifying plus EV bets and strategies all in the Betting Pros app. And don't forget that we do have a premium offer that is free for 7 days. You can get a free 7-day free trial over from the Betting Pros Premium by downloading the app at bettingpros.com/apps, using the code JUICE and activating your trial on the upgrade screen. Again, that's promo code JUICE. Activate your trial on the upgrade screen. You're going to get 7 free days And that's going to do it for us today right here on Betting Pros. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribing if you're new. For Matt Perrault, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.